how do you achieve massive success? How do you go from where you are to where you want to be and really achieve massive goals? Hi everyone, Mike Cabani here, and this is episode number 2 on the Epic Entrepreneurs podcast. And this is a question we're going to be answering today: is how do you achieve massive success? And this is a question that I've been obsessed with for 10 years officially, but really ever since I was a teenager, when I was young. I really was so dissatisfied with so many things in my life. We came from a low middle class, kind of, we always didn't have enough money. And, there was always these problems. And it's like it's like everywhere you turn, there's just a bad thing happening, a bad thing happening. And then at some point you realize I have to take control of this. I have to somehow succeed. I have to stop failing. I have to stop. I don't want to be in all this pain all the time, all this frustration. And I really want to start succeeding. And how do I do that? And I started to study it and study it and study it. And obviously, there are so many things involved in success, right? If you've read books, if you studied personal development, you find there are so many different elements. People talk about, focus. People talk about networking. People talk about, learning skills, positive thinking, right? There are all these things. But I found there's really one key that is the most important. And this came about not so much from the books that I've read, because the books that I've read, they talk about normal things, but more from the observations. I looked at, the best performers. You look at the actors on television, the famous actors. You look at the writers, the speakers, the ones who, you know, we, me and you, we look up to, and everybody looks up to, like these icons of business, the icons of everything, of athletes. Those that we see are the achievers in the world, right? The people that we look at and we think, man, those people are talented. Or we look at other people and we see they've achieved something and they achieved it. How did they do it? What was the number one thing that enabled them to do it? And this is what I discovered is that, the big mistake we think is that we think that people are, we tend to make people as a rock, or, rigid. Like, this person is talented, this person is musical, this person is outgoing, this person is shy, this person is this way, right? We look at the athlete and we say, hey, the athlete is an athlete, right? Michael Jordan. Well, of course he's successful. He'll be amazing basketball player. He is an amazing basketball player. But we forget the transformation that happened, right? We forget that the person, the example I think of is, in Game of Thrones. I don't know if you watch it, but it's obviously very famous TV show. And one of the main actors, God, I forgot his name, but he's a short guy. He's the is he a dwarf? I don't know. I don't know what the term is, but he's short. He's like, I don't know how tall he is, 3, 4 feet tall. No, 4 feet tall. This is bad, but okay. So that guy, I saw there was an interview that he did, and basically, uh, he became so iconic now. But up until his 30s, he wasn't an actor. He didn't act. He was a data entry person, literally a data entry person, the person that's just put in data and spreadsheets. That was his job. That's what he did. And then, but he decided, you know what? I'm gonna just go for it. And literally, that's what he said. I'm gonna take the first acting job that's gonna come up, and no matter what. And he did it, and he took it, and it wasn't very much, but then he worked on another project with the same director, another project, and finally, a few years later, that led to him to being, a main character on the Game of Thrones, one of the biggest TV shows of all time. In fact, I believe the biggest TV show of all time. So, how did that happen? And when I looked at all those people, is they all transformed. Everybody, all the successful people, at some point they transformed. The Michael Jordan, the Leonardo DiCaprio, the actors, the business people, all those achievers. They weren't, at some point they were not achievers. At some point they were just normal people. just like as normal as you can imagine, just as normal as just like think of an average normal person. That's how they were at some point. So, so you might be wondering, well, Mike, how did they change? How did that transformation happen? Well, for many reasons, but the one core reason is they were forced to change, or maybe a better way to put it is they were put in a situation where they had to change. They had to kind of rise up, right? If you throw somebody on an island, they can't be sedentary anymore, right? If you take a fat person and you throw them on an island and now they have to hunt for food, right? There's no you don't give them electronics. Well, now they're forced to change. They're forced to be fit, to be active, right? So what you look you look at the successful people, and oftentimes it was circumstances around them that forced them to change. They were put in a situation where they had to be a certain way. They had to do a certain thing. And whether it was acting or whether it was a business, or oftentimes a lot of business people, they face really horrible financial issues, or like what's his name, the founder of uh, Murdoch, Rupert Murdoch. He's the not just Fox, but the bigger network. It's like the biggest new media company in the world that he owns. It's billions and billions of dollars. But how he got started, he was 18 years old, and then his father passed away. And when his father passed away, it fell on him. Now he had to run this company. He had to run this newspaper. It was in Australia, and now he had to do it. And he didn't know how to do it, but he had to. He was forced to, and just by putting that demand on him, that burden, if you will, you can look at it as a burden, right? That problem that he faced, that forced him to accelerate and to improve. So, and that's how we learn so quickly. Oftentimes, that's, and think for yourself, and for yourself, if you go back in a situation in your life where you woke up, in the middle of the night, and there was an emergency in the middle of the night, or any emergency, what you notice is, even though you were asleep, you were like deep asleep, but then in a moment, just when the emergency happened, suddenly you're awake. You're just like on high alert. You're super awake and you're ready to go. And where did that alertness come from? Where did that focus and concentration and physical readiness come from? Because normally you wouldn't have it. You could never, just like you couldn't, like, after 2 hours of sleep, just wake up super alert as if you've never slept at all. We can't do that normally. So where did that come from? Well, the situation demanded that from us. When we felt it was an emergency, suddenly we tap into these things that we have these capabilities inside of us, but they're not being brought to the surface. And that's really the secret of success, is that everybody has capabilities in us. We all can jump, we all can run, we all can talk, we all can think, all can plan, we can all do these things. But they're all dormant inside of us. They're all just hidden inside of us. And until they are, it's like everybody has the same muscles, right? Yeah, me and you and Arnold Schwarzenegger and whatever, we all have the same muscles in our body. But how does a bodybuilder now have massive muscles? Well, they take the same number of muscles, but they make them bigger. The same way, that's the key to success, is just it's expanding, growing our innate capabilities. And the way we do that is we put demands on ourselves. We have to put ourselves in a situation where we are forced to perform. We are forced to rise up. And because the human body, the brain is so complacent in a sense, and that's not it does it for a very good reason, because it wants to preserve energy. It wants to protect itself, right? It's not a good idea to be, if you're like an animal in the wild, just to be active all the time, running all around. That's just a horrible idea, right? And it's just you just run out of energy, you would die. It's a terrible idea. So that's why you see animals in the wild. They try to rest as much as possible. They always try to conserve the maximum amount of energy. The same way with your phone. Your phone, when you don't use your phone, it goes into sleep mode. It hibernates. Your body and your brain is the same way. It will do whatever you give it. Whatever you demand from it, it will give you, but it won't give you any more than that. So that's why the mistake that causes people to fail is we look at, it's like we look at our phone and our phone is like, oh, our phone is not turned on, it's not doing anything, and we think that's what the phone has as a capability. We think, the phone is just, that's what it does. It's just, it goes to sleep. Well, it doesn't go to sleep. It goes to sleep if you don't activate it, if you don't use it. But you can start using it and not tap into a million things. And the same way with our body, with our brain, is the demand that we put on ourselves. So how do you apply that practically? How do you take it now and really apply it? Well, this is what you do. You have to shift your brain from thinking in terms of waiting until you are ready. If you wait until you are ready, it's like the phone. It's like looking at your phone and waiting until your phone, starts lights up and starts showing you videos. Well, it doesn't work that way. Your phone will just try to sleep as much as possible. The same way with your brain and your body. Your body is, the purpose of it is to conserve energy, is to rest as much as possible. It's your responsibility, your job to invigorate it, and it's your job to direct it and to activate it and to get stuff out of it. Uh, and you do that by not waiting until you're ready, but by going in and becoming ready. So that's the big difference. Is, you know like, if you are gonna, you have an email to write, or you're writing a book, or you're recording something, or you're creating a marketing campaign or a business thing, or you are, whatever you're doing, is, you will never be ready for it. You will never ever be ready for it. And in fact, you just have to go in and start doing it, and start, and in a sense, forcing yourself more and more to go deeper. And it's almost, you have to just, you can't learn how to swim on the shallows. You go in the kiddie pool and you'll learn how to be an Olympic swimmer. Well, that's not going to happen. Okay. Maybe you can spend 5 minutes there, but suddenly you have to go to the grown up pool and, start, just, challenge yourself. Right. And it's like, the more you challenge yourself, the more you grow, the stronger you become, the more your capability becomes. So that's what I do. That's what I do. Or, and I didn't do it before. I didn't do it before for many, many, many years. For most of my entrepreneurial and business and achievement, I really just had the normal kind of, mental programming, so to speak, where I always thought, it's like, I have to be ready first. I have to be ready before I shoot a video, before I write something, before I launch something. I have to be ready first. I have to be ready. And what would happen is that I would just never be ready. And my progress was slow. But then I looked at the super achievers, the people that were achieving, seemed to be achieving so much faster, would take me years to accomplish something. And they were achieving it much faster. And I saw their secret. They were just jumping kind of further ahead. They were kind of putting themselves in situations that they were not ready for. But because they put themselves in that situation, they had to rise up to the occasion. And that's how they developed it. So if you want to publish a book, don't wait until you have it all figured out. Just go at it. In fact, publish the first draft. Make it just terrible, but publish it. What happens is that by the process of having to do something when you're not ready, that's where the greatest amount of learning happens. That's the greatest amount of discovery happens. And most importantly, the most important thing happens is you eliminate the fear. You eliminate the fear, because so much of what holds us back is this fear of this something new, right? Something of like, something we just haven't done before. We have this fear because it's just, we've never done it before, right? We're not, it's like, if a person you've never, it's like the difference between meeting a friend versus meeting a stranger, right? Like a stranger, there's a fear, there's anxiety there because, well, who is this person, and are they bad, are they good, right? There's this uncertainty. We're not sure about it. But a friend, we're sure about a friend because we know them. So that's one of the key elements, is to, when you force yourself to do things, you get in touch with the reality. And a lot of that fear, that kind of, it's almost not superstition, but it's this exaggerated fear that we have about things, it disappears. It really disappears. And you realize, like recording a video or publishing a book, or doing a sales call, or sending a, whatever it is you're doing, whatever you're feeling anxious about. A lot, you will notice that a lot of that anxiety is just imagined. It literally does not exist in reality. And once you do it, you see, it's like riding a bike. Before you ride the bike, it's like, oh my God, what if the bike explodes? Well, it's, you go on and you realize, well, that's not going to happen. So that's the key, is to literally force yourself to go in. And what happens is it eliminates that fear, and eliminates that 90% of that fear. So guys, that's the number one secret of success. You have to go before you're ready. You have to go in, jump, and learn how to swim. Believe me, if you do that, if you apply that, your rate of progress, your rate of success will be so much faster. And oftentimes you will fail, but what happens is, even though you will fail in the short run doing that method, you succeed more in the long run, because in the long run you learn so much and you grow so much. And that's really the main thing, the thing that people have. The main issue that people have is, it's not whether they're succeeding or failing. The main problem people have is that they are not growing enough. That's the reason why they're not successful in the long run. They're just not growing enough. They're not challenging themselves enough. So that's your secret. That's how you can apply it. So guys, start challenging yourselves, and let me know what you think. I really want to hear from you guys. Let me know, how does this apply to you? How have you been, how have you noticed this in your life, in your business, in terms of, challenging yourself or not challenging yourself, with waiting for things to kind of line up, versus just going in and lining things up and figuring things as you go along. How is that? How was this episode for you? Let me know. I really want to hear from you guys. The first half of the conversation is on with this episode. The other half is the conversation afterwards. So guys, let me know. I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts. And this is Mike, and we'll talk again real soon.